All right, so I'm very excited. I'm here with the incredible Roger Fisher, the lead guitarist of Heart, rock and roll Hall of Fame inductee. Um, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing really well. We're in 2022 in January. This is Brian Barron, who is equally an incredible guy because I mean, what human are you going to say is not incredible
That's true.
considering where they came from?
That's a good point. Yeah. Um, yeah. It's
Getting late.
you just
Fuck, it was a
you fuck
great
it.
interview.
Yeah. Thanks,
See you
everyone.
guys.
Goodbye.
This is the show that's never about magnets. We talk about stuff, but never about magnets. A pretty good show, and also fuck magnets. This is the show.
No, I was just contemplating that. Like it's a very profound statement, and I think a lot of people will uh, ascribe greatness to others and then not to themselves.
Yeah,
So,
especially people like movie stars and rock stars and
hmm
really great chefs, uh, they get lauded all this love, but people forget that every single one of us is a living, breathing miracle, and uh, what we do with our lives is what defines how much love we get.
hmm
And then there are these people who they get all this love and everything's so great, and then something that happened 12 years ago comes to light, and now they're not loved anymore.
yeah, yeah,
I've striven to not be one of those.
right.
Yeah. The only
Um,
skeletons I have are just this one here.
mhm.
Do you ever do this, Brian? Uh, just picture people like in a crowd and just strip them of their bodies, and so they are just skeletons because they are, just we are just skeletons. I mean, we're not just skeletons, but we're all skeletons. And if you look at people like that, especially like if you were on stage and had stage fright, and you can just remember, oh yeah, we're all skeletons. Look at all these skeletons out there. It really relieves the stage fright.
Interesting. Is that because it makes people it reminds you of people's mortality,
Well, equalness.
equalness?
Yeah, equality.
I I can't say I've done that, but what I have done a lot of is like sitting somewhere on a summer day, you've got a glass of lemonade or something, and you watch people go by and just try to imagine what it's like to be them.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
for me, sometimes the really trippy thing is understanding that every single person you see has a life that's as rich as your own. Because if you think about your own life, there's lots of things going on. You have lots of connections. You have all of these really deep, powerful relationships with family and friends and people and every single person has the same thing.
Yeah.
Uh, and sometimes when I do that, I think about war, and I think or cruelty. It makes war and cruelty very difficult when you realize that every single person has their own special, uh, you know, uh, beauty and uniqueness. Um, it's like, everything is fleeting and everything is so very, very important. And in a way, unimportant. Yeah.
Yeah, you can look at yourself and look at your story of your life. It just seems like God, lifetimes ago that, oh yeah, I was little and I did this. Then I was a teenager and I did all this stuff, and then I was in my 20s and I did this in my 30s, and wow, what a story! And
Mm-hmm.
I'm just one of 7.5 billion. Each person has their story.
Right.
It's so interesting to be aware of that.
I think um, maybe uh, the really interesting thing about uh, people like you who have achieved some notoriety or some amount of fame, um, to me, maybe it isn't even the thing that you did. It's just having your personal story elevated in the eyes of others. Like that experience itself is very interesting, and I think a lot of people are curious about that. So everyone has done things in their lives that they're proud of. Everyone has done things in their lives that are important, but not everyone has been in a position where everyone knows about those things or are calling them up and saying, hey, come on TV and talk about this thing you did. So what is that like? Is that must be humbling and maybe strange sometimes?
Well, when we were in the limelight and everything was going really great, success was just huge. It was really fun to be in the position where you could do special things like fly all around New York City pretty low and just see New York City that way, or fly the length of the Grand Canyon inside it, you know. Mm-hmm. Lots of special privileges that we were allowed, and to be a part of the team that strove. Is strove a word?
I think so. It's a good enough word for this interview.
Yeah. The team that has striven so hard to get themselves to this point, and then you're part of this team, and you reap the rewards. Some of which were so many guys would like to think, wow, it'd be so great to be a rock star. And after the gig, you get to go to the hotel room with this hot babe and have wild sex night after night. Man, I want to do that. And that's certainly not what I signed up for. I was just into music, and I'm not lying. And so when I was became aware that, oh wow, this is a whole cool fringe benefit here. This is great. It was wonderful. But after a while, I felt like I really needed it, like I was becoming addicted to it. And then a little bit after that, I would come home from tour and I would feel exhausted, but I would feel emptied of my soul. Mm-hmm. And when I first realized that I was giving up something sacred and deep, I thought, wow, this is really scary. I can't do that. And it's a realization that some never have. And when you keep deplenishing your sacred, vital source, eventually there's nothing to live for, and you're probably going to commit suicide. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I was fortunate to have realized the value of a soul.
Yeah, I have a dear friend who once told me that when you get to a certain age, the only thing you're going to have left is benevolence. Is the only, you won't, at some point, if you live long enough, you won't be able to taste things as well. Sex won't be as exciting. Maybe your body isn't working very well. So the only thing you're going to have left is the positive influence you have on other people.
So define benevolence.
Benevolence would be I guess in the way I'm using it, the doing of good things, right? The good things you do to other people. And I think, we have it inherently, but I think it's also something that's learned and refined with time.
Yeah, we have it inherently, I believe, and it's something that is also learned and also forgotten.
Yeah, I think a lot of people forget that.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Yeah.
Cool. So I wanna back.
My hair
up.
look okay?
I think it's good.
Makeup is good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, we both did our makeup before this interview.
Yeah.
I always come into these things thinking I should do more, like prepare more, but it always feels like it's better to just be spontaneous.
I know. Guess I'm being spontaneous.
I want to talk about a band that you were one of the founders of, and that band is called Army, which I believe you started when you were 13 years old with your brother. I don't know. I just read the Wikipedia page. When you were 13. And what I want to know is 13-year-old Roger got a band called Army, later Hocus Pocus, then White Heart, and then eventually Heart, and that's the one you're known for. Who was that person? Why did you start that band? What was it like being a young Roger in the 60s,
yeah.
just getting into rock and roll?
God, what incredibly wonderful memories. I didn't start playing guitar until I was 15. And the story about how I got into playing guitar is a good one. I was hanging around with I had this one specific friend at school that introduced me to his friends. His friends were like the scourge of the of the community. And so we started going around breaking into houses, and it was fun, and I was part of the team. And after we hit a house, we'd go to this elementary school parking lot that was, just had woods around it, no people, and we'd drink the booze and get really drunk, and then they would drop me off at home, and I'd have to get up the next morning and go to school. And this went on for a while. I really don't remember how many houses we broke into, maybe 7 or 8, something like that. And of course we got caught. And I remember my feelings of humiliation standing in front of the judge with my mom next to me. Okay, Roger, what are some of the things that you took? Well, the only thing I ever took was a 8-ball off a pool table. Really? And well, anyway, it boiled down to, son, you've just been hanging around with the wrong crowd. You're free to go. So, big relief.
Wow. That's very nice of that judge.
He recognized, he saw me.
Yeah.
He knew I was a good guy. And on the way home, Mom says, so what can we do? What can you do to fill up your time so that you're not going around doing stupid stuff like that? I said, well, my brother's best friend has a guitar and amp that I love to play. And she said, okay, we'll rent you that same guitar and amp. And so I got a harmony guitar and a Silvertone amp, and just dove into guitar playing. Just, wow. Just played a lot, all self-taught. But, let's see, I don't know. So it's 65. Well, of course, the Beatles were out then.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing the Beatles on Ed Sullivan the first time. I guess that was 64. And just it was like a miracle. The world changed. I was forever changed by that. Just so, it was like they gave you enlightenment, nirvana. They gave you something beautiful. And so yeah, I wanted to do that. So me and my best friend agreed to, let's learn instruments and have a band. So we did, and the first band was actually the Deserters.
The Deserters. Okay.
Yeah, but nobody knows about that. And then
They do now.
Pardon me?
They do now.
Yeah.
Now they know.
And then we had the Army. And so my reasoning behind the Army is, well, I was dead set against the idea of war and killing and barbarianism. I just thought it was just insanely stupid that humanity would do this stuff. And I thought there's got to be better ways to do our business than killing each other en masse. And So I thought, you know what? I would like to have an army of people that are united in the thought that we're going to change the phase of what an army is. Instead of it being this killing machine, it's going to be this living machine. And this army is going to be about what do we do to ensure all life on Earth? You know, what do we do to help all that? And because there were already concerns of uh, ecological damage and things that are going on that are really injurious to our planet. And so that was the crux of the idea for the army, is to create an army of people that are impassioned and energized with a specific purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I was really idealistic. And why not? You know, people when they're young, they know that, I mean, they sense, they feel that they can change the world. And it's absolutely true.
Mm-hmm.
So when their spirit and enthusiasm isn't squashed by somebody or something, then they can bloom and do great things. Unfortunately, in our society, there's so much bullying and
Yeah.
there's so much ignorance in parents and the way they raise their kids. The kids don't have a chance. They're going to be messed up all their lives, and they'll never know real deep, fulfilled joy that lasts. You know.
Yeah.
So that's tragic. But what they need is to go to a rock concert and see those people on stage and get uplifted and feel energized and given direction by music.
Mm-hmm.
And so I remember vividly mowing the lawn for this lady who was, we thought she was really mean. Who knows what past she had to make her the way she was, but to us, she was mean Mrs. Torrey, and I had to mow her grass. So I'm out there mowing the lawn, and I had the Kinks in my mind on stage. Or no, I had the Kinks going in my head. Da 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 da.
Right.
And I'm on stage just thrilling this audience. And I'm really good and I'm really fired up. And they're feeling it and I'm feeling it. And that little nuclear reaction that's going on there, when I did that on the mowing the lawn, I knew that's what I was going to do. There's no doubt. Yeah.
That's interesting. I think of sometimes I think about how music is almost like, it's like a magic spell. You know, I think music, art, stories, you know, and to the extent that music and art are kinds of stories, I think these are the things that actually can change people.
Absolutely.
You know, and you know, there's lots of things that are valuable in like a very concrete way. You know, math and science and, you know, technology and these things that make our lives better. They facilitate us to, you know, not have to live outside and suffer. You know, like these are good things, but in a way, those things are meaningless without the stories. You know, without the ability to care about others or to create this, without the army you're talking about. You know, these things are just better ways of killing each other or making things miserable.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a really important piece that you just pointed out.
Yeah. Yeah. Without caring and compassion, we'd be a more sorry lot than we already are.
Right. I was thinking about this. I think a lot about like suffering and misery, and I kept thinking it over. And you know, when you finally kind of like grow up and you're out on your own, you realize you don't have teachers or parents or anyone to really tell you what to do. You actually get to choose what you do. I had this moment of realizing the reason the world is the way it is must be because we're choosing to make it that way, which is like very empowering, and it's also saddening, you know, because it means that all the misery really is our fault, you know.
Absolutely. Well, you know, there's the good guys and the bad guys. The good guys are the people that can't help themselves. They have to go out in the jungle and study gorillas, or they have to photograph Antarctica, or they have to get so involved in chemistry that they just do chemistry all their lives, and they keep themselves busy with tasks that they love. So that the whole thing is based around love, and the more they love their craft, the you know, the more popular guitar player they're going to be. Or like with Ann Wilson, she's one of the best singers in history.
Oh yeah.
Because she loved the craft, loves the craft so much. And then there are people that were maybe raised in a situation where they're really didn't have much. I can't say that it's not a poverty thing. It's not. I mean, it's not a poverty thing so much as a lot of people might think, because I've been in situations where these, you know, whole communities don't have much at all, but they are joyous. They're happy, and and they're thriving in the community that they have. It doesn't take a lot of possessions or fancy or even real comfortable lifestyle. We humans have the capacity to find joy in you know, make it out of nothing.
Right.
For instance, I was asked to be the head of entertainment for the American entourage of amputee soccer players who played the World Cup in Uzbekistan, Tashkent, and the amputee soccer players were all in practicing, and I was outside the building, and there were a bunch of these kids, really rough and tumble looking kids, and they were playing something like hacky sack, where you kick a little sack around. Well, they had a little chunk of metal with some feathers on it. That was their sack.
Oh yeah.
And so I went in there and joined them, and we couldn't speak each other's language, but we were really having fun. And we played for quite a while. And when I was done and had to leave, the kid offered to give me his little hacky sack. You know, it was
Wow.
a really prized possession for them, and he was willing to give it to me.
Wow.
Yeah, beautiful. But in so many cases, the mom and dad have addictions to gambling or cocaine or heroin or alcohol, you know, whatever. And because of their selfish indulgence, they don't give enough to their kids. And because they didn't give enough to their kids, the kids go off with no clear direction, no sense of, or very little sense of compassion and caring. And that's what they present to the world. And so those are the bad guys. Not that they are bad people. They
Right.
were just raised under bad circumstances. So there is so much ignorance and so much of that in the world, that when we get leadership that fosters, that speaks to those people because they know that they'll believe a lot of bullshit, they come out of the woodwork, and then all of a sudden you've got a movement of bad stuff.
Right.
Yeah, like Hitler.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, people don't realize that before World War II, like as things were ramping up, a lot of people really liked what Hitler was doing.
Well, it looked,
know?
it looked really good.
Yeah,
There's so many things that looked really good about it.
You didn't have jobs, now you have jobs. We gave you someone to blame, you know? And I think a lot of people that would otherwise be good went along with it because they thought, well, you know, it's kind of working out. I don't agree with this. And then there were the people that believed it, and they get roped further down that rabbit hole.
And then there's a movie like The Sound of Music where,
Right.
yeah, such a beautiful statement.
Who was the boyfriend of the eldest daughter who became a Nazi?
What was his actor's name?
The character.
Oh, I don't remember.
But yeah, I think everyone can be that. You know, everyone has the capability.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, the fact that that your dad got really roped into ibuprofen for a while, or it's just an example.
Right, right.
Thinking that, oh, this is great. Or like there was recently a pro football player who was really, really angry because back in the day he would just pop handfuls of ibuprofen out of necessity because that was the only thing that kept him from being in extreme pain. And then he, got liver disease, and his life became worthless because he
Right.
did that. So what our society gives to us, feeds to us, wants us to believe, the propaganda, the brainwashing, all the advertising, boom, boom, you try this drug. Oh, it could cause death and sickness and nausea.
Right.
Try this drug. Oh, and you get fed all this every night on TV. Big Pharma it's like they're hypnotizing all these people to take all these drugs. Oh, it's just, we're in a crazy world. But it's beautiful because this is such an incredible play to be watching. The world, of course, the world's never been like this. The world's never been the same as anything twice. It's all constant change. But the stage we're on with science making all these leaps and bounds and doing all these great things while a pandemic is spreading around the world and causing all this chaos, while countries are developing their hypersonic missiles in various places as big threats. And here's a huge country over here who are destined to become the economic leaders of the world, where the United States once was that. And the idea that cryptocurrency is going to replace banks who are now in power, there's all this tension. Right. Something big is about to happen.
Yeah, I feel that too.
And so I feel really privileged to be alive right now, to be able to watch the play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, there's a sense in which being detached from so there's this Buddhist concept which is suffering, which is different from feeling good or feeling bad,
like a sore thumb or something.
Not quite. It's like if you bang your thumb with a hammer, right, it's still gonna hurt, you're still not gonna like it, but you're not invested in that experience. You're not suffering because of that. And I think there's like this way in which being detached from all the bad things, and kind of like, it's like if you're talking to someone and you have to kind of meet them where they are, right? Like that's an element of having like a good communication. It's like you kind of have to meet the world where it is. And once you do that, I think you stop suffering, and you're able to, in a way, enjoy the craziness too.
Yeah.
While still wanting to make it better.
So
Yeah.
can you, in a very short sentence, describe what it would be to reach that state of separation? I've got it.
You've got it?
Oh, I've got it, yeah.
I'm not sure. I mean...
2 words.
Go ahead.
Silent observer. You're just watching.
Yeah.
You're not judging. You're not getting involved. You're not getting emotionally involved because you're silent. You're just watching. And in that sense, you are detached. And what makes that easier to fathom is the fact that pretty soon you'll be dead, and you'll be detached from your body anyway, but you'll still have consciousness. So why not have the consciousness now that you will have when your body's gone, and use that as your guide to how you react to the world.
Oh, that's a really interesting way of thinking of it. I yeah, death is an interesting. Sometimes it can be um, calming, or it can be like a thing that you're like, there's
That you look forward to? I sure do.
you look forward to it.
Oh, yeah.
I I have a strong preference to continue living as long as I can. However, knowing that I will die, there's no situation in which I'm going to be stuck in like a cave buried under a rock forever. There's nothing that will be so bad that it's going to last forever. And I don't want people to take that the wrong way. I'm not saying that death is a good way out of your problems. It's just that any problem you have has like a physical limit, right?
Yeah.
Physics,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Like you can't argue with physics.
Right.
There's a speed limit to the universe, and there's an end to any problem that anything that could happen is limited.
Right.
And
right.
that can be comforting. And
It is. I agree.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm very curious. So I'm wondering if this is a responsible question. What do you look forward to about dying?
About death. So, we live this whole life, and it's like when a seed is in the earth. It's doesn't really have much consciousness yet. It's just doing its little seed thing and gradually coming up, and then it part of it gets above the earth and it's going, whoa, it's feeling sunlight and this energy, and whew, then it starts growing and it gets bigger and there's so much joy. Or a puppy or a little bird, any little puppy or little bird, anything young has all this joy. If life wasn't like that, it would have ended a long time ago. So it's inherent in young things to have all this joy and energy and bursting forth of life. And you get older, and your leaves have fallen. 25 seasons your leaves have fallen, and now here it's spring again and they're coming back, and it's not quite the same as it was before. Then 70 years, now you're a 70-year-old tree, and all these things have happened. And then a tree is a little bit of a difficult analogy because they live so long, but like in the case of a human, you get in your 60s and 50s, 60s, 70s, you start to realize, oh, this is what it's like to be old. And then it gets worse and worse and worse, and you try and you change your lifestyle, and you're working out and eating well and working against it, and you're prolonging your life.
Yeah.
And but it comes to a point where you're just in such pain that I'd be really happy just to die. I'd be much happier just to die. Just let me die. Kill me for fuck's sake.
Wow.
And at that point, then you embrace death because it's better than this. So that's a real forgiving thing about the way our bodies age and that we are introduced to death. But what if a person lived their whole life thinking about, I'm going to die someday. What should I do to prepare for that? Right. Well, so then people, they become religious or whatever, study Buddhism, whatever. Buddhism and American Indian spiritualism are my two favorite religions, right. Ways of living. But because they both teach the way to be. And in Buddhism, you need to be able to conquer the wild bull. There's a story of 10 bulls where you're born, you don't know anything. Second bull is you start to see the world. Third bull is you're tempted by all this stuff and you get involved. And fourth bull is you start to become really knowledgeable about the world. And the fifth bull is you get this little ding. Maybe there's something else I should be doing while I'm here as a human being. Sixth bull is where you see the bull, and you go, shit, that's heavy stuff, you know.
Yeah.
And then the seventh bull is you think, wow, I want to ride that bull. And the eighth bull is you dedicate your life to being able to ride the bull, and you're coaxing it and trying to get it. Ninth bull is you're riding the bull. You've conquered yourself. You've conquered that quack, 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 quack that goes on in your brain all the time. You've conquered that, and you are able to go. And there's nothing there. When there's nothing there, there's no doubt, no fear, no pain that is touching the nothing there zone. It's beautiful. It doesn't get any better than that. And then the 10th bull is where you're just a member of society, not trying to tell anybody what you are, how incredibly great you are, because you are great if you do that. And so the story of Legend of 10 Bulls is really cool. But it's, to me, so the whole life experience, I've thought about it so much. I want to be, when I die, I want to laugh. I want to yell. I want to say, bring it! Bring it! You know? Yeah. And to me, it's kind of analogous to having sex, where you're having sex. Oh, it's great, but you don't want to come too early, or it's over.
Right.
So you're saving it. Finally, okay, now it's time. Let's do it. So you live your whole life, and you're preparing to die, and you're getting closer and closer and closer, and pretty soon it's time to do it.
That makes sense.
So people ask me why I'm so happy. That's why. And it's also the knowledge that when I wake up in the morning, what just happened in dreamland is no less real than this. Mm-hmm. So it's obvious this is just a dream. This is all just consciousness. Mm-hmm. And nothing matters except that we are in a play. And the way you choose, with the character you choose, and what you choose to do with that character, that's the fun of being in the play. I don't want to be a bad, dumb character that screws everything up, although that's the way I've lived my life so far. But striving to be a good character in the play. And so that does matter. There's this Alaskan Indian tribe, probably more than one, who have this ritual of getting together every year, and they all have these different powders and dusts and colors of dirt, and I don't know how they do it, but they create this beautiful piece of art, like on a big floor in a sacred building, sacred room. And when it's all done, they all gather around and they honor it, and then they blow it away. Yeah. Wow. That's exactly what's happening to Earth right now. Maybe, But from an alien's point of view, and here's another possibility, an option for us to believe, is that the aliens have always been watching us. The aliens were much more involved back in the Aztec and Mayan days, when and ancient Egyptian days, when they created these incredible things that we have no clue how to do. Mm-hmm. They're still watching us, but they can't intervene because they're from the future and they're from the past. And if you intervene, it doesn't work. So all they can do is watch. Mm-hmm. But we can have a telepathic relationship with them, and pray or will that they help. And so then things do happen. But, well, for instance, like when the Beatles formed, these disparate lives of four guys comes together, and you've got this incredibly powerful force that changes the world permanently for the better. How did that happen? Who knows? So the aliens want us to succeed, and they see all the ignorance and all the selfishness and all the things that destroy, and they see all the things that are going in the right direction to create a beautiful, beautiful world that supports all life. And they probably, no, I think as many futures as you can imagine, they all exist in the universe, because it's pretty big.
Right, right.
But the future that all these people want is this kind of utopic world where we've substituted war with international games, and weaponry with high tech competition of weapon like devices, and the cities, and the way that life is being cultivated and supported is just beautiful. It works.
Yeah.
So I'm privy to the direction that supports all life, whether it's from aliens or God or my mom and dad that are really smart, and they're sending, I don't know, I've got really
Yeah.
good solid ideas about things that are credible and realistic that could be done to save millions of lives. And that's a conundrum for me, because if I chose to do that, go in that direction, it would take so much of my time and energy. I'd be sacrificing music and a lot for that. So I'm still looking for a way to be able to do that without becoming a prostitute for that endeavor,
Cause,
that
yeah.
ambition.
Yeah, yeah. It's my thought as you were talking is like, man, that's a crazy story, right? And then I thought, but is it really crazier than all the other stories people believe? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
and I think there's a way that if people listening don't, if they're thinking like, oh, that's really out there. I think there's a way in which that's definitely true. That we're definitely being communicated with. Even like if you want to take it from like the purely scientific like perspective, there's a way that you know like our parents and all of these other influences and all of these things, we live in this soup, and it's all feeding back into us. And if you listen, I think you can make sense of that tapestry.
So how do you receive that information? What enables a person to be able to receive that information?
um Man, I'm trying to piece that together. I think there's an element of like cultivating this sensitivity and like listening to yourself. And on like a very basic level, it would be like, what should I be doing? I think that's one of the dangers of technology is, people sit there and they're plugged into this machine, right? They're plugged into this giant algorithm. We're all part of it. And then they forget that they don't notice that they should drink some water or go out and be in the sun, right? So if you can notice those things, then you can start maybe asking other things like, okay, what is the story that I'm in? What are the stories that I'm being told or that I have in me from other people, and what does that mean? What do I do about it? Like that, to me, that makes sense. But what is your answer to that
Oh,
question?
it's real simple.
Okay.
It's what all the religions teach, and that is meditation. And I came up with a definition of meditation that I believe is real easily assimilable by a mass public. And I remember it by the acronym B.A.S.H.
Mm-hmm.
So if you let your cat out in the morning and watch what it does, it goes out and it doesn't just go, generally doesn't just go off. It goes out a little ways and it stops, and it's just listening, and
Mm.
it's just totally aware.
Right.
Like its life depends on it, which it does.
It does, yeah.
So I take great inspiration from my pets. And when Mojo, my sheepdog poodle, and I are out in the woods, we'll be walking along the trail and he'll just stop. And instead of shooing him on, I'll stop too and I'll wait. And, he's hearing little things and he's smelling stuff, and it's just real inspiring because he's the leader,
Mm-hmm.
He's way better at that than I am.
Right, right.
But so if a person wanted to embark on a practice that was real helpful in going in this direction, well, so like I said, the answer is meditation. You have to be empty to be able to receive. So the way to get empty is B.A.S.H. B stands for breathing. So in this practice, and I do this, 5, 10, 20 times a day, is...
I'm going to do it with you.
Yeah, take
All right.
a big breath of air, and then when you get to stop, hold it, and then slowly let it out. And as soon as you do that, you feel good. It just feels good. Really slowly. And then another big breath. Second one feels even better. You can just feel stuff falling. Do it again. Now this time you put your awareness in your body, and we'll just keep doing that. And you put your awareness in your body. You're feeling your toes, you're feeling your fingertips, you're feeling your earlobes, you're feeling your scalp. You're putting your consciousness in your body like air into a balloon where your body's completely filled with your consciousness. Now, with that awareness, you let any little tensions fall, like your anus. There's a lot of tension that tends to be there. Shoulders, jaw, just many places. Forehead. All of those fall. So after a little while, you feel really good because you have no tension. Now, so breathing and awareness. Now, you're continuing. Now you open your eyes and you see one picture. You don't put any emphasis on any one thing more than another. You're just seeing one picture because in reality, that's all you're seeing is one picture. Everything, all the tensions in your body are falling away. Breathing slowly and deeply. As you breathe slowly and deeply, your heart rate is slowing down, which feels good because you're in control of your heart rate. H stands for hearing. Now, as if you were a wild animal in the jungle, you're hearing every single thing you can. You're seeing one picture as if you're not looking for anything, but if you see a little movement, that could save your life. If you see that movement, if you hear something, that could save your life. So your life is dependent on seeing everything and hearing everything. Here we go. In that moment, the phone is going to ring.
All of them. Ring. All the phones ring.
Yeah. And there you are, folks. Aliens.
This is enlightenment. That's
Let's take a break.
Take a break.
Hello.